Yeah, and I think, well, what you're looking for when you're going to do retail, and so to be immersed into like an ambience, like something like you can feel something, beautiful. And at the same time, if you're thinking about customer perspective, you need to adapt locally.
And with such a prestigious brand, you've got a lot of history and a lot of brand presence globally, and maintaining and moving that brand forward.
How to translate your values and what you want to say to your customers through all the details that you may have on your digital platform.
Welcome back to the CX Insider podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and today we're joined by a very special guest straight from Paris this morning, Maud Lagarde, who is the Global Client Development and Customer Experience Manager at Louis Vuitton. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That's great.
Perfect. So maybe we can set the tone of the interview with you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your career journey.
Sure. So for now, consider myself as like an expert in digital customer experience, and especially in luxury, because I've been like working at Louis Vuitton for 6 years now. And before that, I worked for several different tech companies, 6 years or so in Paris, like agency, consulting firms. Which is interesting for me is really that my philosophy with digital is rooted into customer experience. So I've been really, since the beginning, since I'm like graduated, really focusing on how to be more customer experience centered with all the project and the brand I've worked with. So that's really something important for me. And at the same time, I am graduated for a lot of different things, so including an art history diploma. So it's really something, I guess, like atypical. And project management for digital, of course, at the university. And at the same time, I did like an executive master in a famous business school in Paris 2 years ago. And yeah, at Louis Vuitton, I am working there since 2019. So I've been operation manager for a while there for a creative department, which were like amazing to understand better all the company, the strategy. And after I just step into a more digital customer experience role, which is my specialty.
Well, that leads perfectly into our first topic then. So what do you think the biggest operational challenges are for luxury brands, especially within maybe post-COVID or higher growth contexts?
In this moment, just after COVID, we had a lot of changes that happened. So I mean, especially for luxury. So at the same time, we have a shift from generation with younger customers that are coming to the market for luxury items. Also, we have more and more people that are coming to e-commerce that just rise a lot with COVID and then became a habit. I mean, for most people, going from, I don't know, like mobile purchases, for example. People are changing behavior at the same time. They are more and more wanting to have experience on digital that are really, really high end, really good, because the standards are really high now. So they expected to have something very fluid, to have something, without any friction. So it's really important because now we just be able to see with customers that retail experience is really, really good and really appreciated. But digital, not so much, even for the biggest brand. Mm-hmm. What the brands need to remember is that even if you have 92% of the customers that are coming to retail for purchases in luxury, half of the people have been on digital before. So it's really important to just not think that digital is just something you may have on the side just to add something to your main retail experience, but it's really something globally, like what we call omnichannel, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially one point that I may add is that, as you may know, luxury products are quite expensive. So people are, a little bit more willing to have a greater experience as well, because they want to have a very premium luxury service as well. So, and as a brand, you may maybe make a difference between the retail experience and the digital one because you are structured this way internally. But really, if you think as a customer, it's something, once again, which is global. So as a customer, you may not do the difference between the retail, the digital is something that you just want to buy a bag. So you have to be good like every time, all the time, the touch point.
I actually have quite an off-the-cuff question from that. Do you feel that customers prefer an in-person experience rather than a remote experience, especially within luxury brands? I know that the in-person experience is a really high level. Is that kind of met on remote as well?
Yeah, so what we observe is that people really prefer to come in person because for now retail it's just exceptional for luxury. You may remember the glass of champagne. You may remember that you have a nice sales advisor that tells you about like the brand storytelling and everything. So, and the place is beautiful.
Yeah.
So everything is really nice.
It's an experience.
Exactly. It's complete experience for all your senses. And what digital is missing is that it's really visual for the moment. You cannot have this full experience. But once again, if I answer yes to this question and say that people are preferring like retail, I just really don't want, because my philosophy really like based on digital customer experience, that brands understand that you have to take digital really into account globally, because remote is sometimes a necessity. And as you may know, if you are in the US, you may not have access to a store just next to your home.
Yeah.
So basically, for some people on the planet, because we sell like globally and worldwide, you may buy your items remotely. So it's something really important. About operational challenges, maybe the one that I put first for a brand that want to consider again the strategy is really to put like a customer-centric culture into the teams and the strategy and the vision of the brand. It's, I think, something really important, because for now it's something that is not usual in the luxury sector, I guess. We are really centered on the product and the excellence of the product, the craftsmanship, which is good, of course, but really this approach that the tech company understand for years, like Google and Facebook and Apple, is really to think as a customer to be able to be better in terms of service. And I think this customer-centric mindset should be really deeply rooted into the teams as well, because I know that the temptation could be really high to just impose that in like a strategic plan or just like a guideline vision. But I think you really need to train the teams to understand what is a customer-centric approach, like design thinking, and how does it work to change your mindset and your perspective to think as a customer. Also, about operational challenges, one I saw sometimes is, the difference between innovation and what we call in IT legacy. So it's really good to do a lot of innovation, because you saw a lot of generative AI and things like that on the table right now. But really, to be successful, especially on digital and omni-channel challenges, you have to keep in mind that you need to solve also first maybe the issues that your customer might have. I'm thinking about one in particular, is that payment. So if you cannot just pay your item on the website with a credit card, which is regular and fine, easily and quickly, it's going to be a problem, really. So innovation is great, and I'm sure a lot of brands are really into what's going to be next. We need to be really aware of what is going on, but also I think maybe most of people just forget that we need also to fix maybe the basics, because sometimes the basics are really fundamental. So
We've talked about the fact you operate in, is it over 40 countries, a lot of countries as a brand and have presence. And like I say, that's a mixture of digital and physical, I guess, locations as a physical retail. But how do you manage that global brand consistency, or that consistency, let's say, around customer experience, where you want it to be, but also, I guess, balance it with localization, so meeting the local needs of a market? And it might be omni-channel wise, or it might be another dynamic.
Yeah, so really, the as you said, the goal is to keep like consistency for the brand, and at the same time, if you're thinking about customer perspective, you need to adapt locally. So what usually is important to keep in mind, and my advice will be to have a really strong strategy and vision in central to be able to have your basis really, really strong. And after that, of course, we do a lot of collaborative work. So we are doing like a lot of workshop, a lot of training, a lot of meeting as well, of course.
Yep.
And once again, to understand another market, you need to talk with the team that are there, and to gather all the feedbacks so you can really have that customer vision, because I think customers not only the final clients that you're going to sales items to, but also the customer that are into your brand, and for example the local teams that need to be involved and understood as well, to be able to just share insights that are really valuable for the brand. And sometimes this exchange leads to a really thoughtful decision and innovation as well, because some countries have different types of way to buy things, especially when we're speaking with digital. So yeah, it could be very interesting to have that back and forward like type of strategy.
Yeah. And like you say, that can play out just in the sense of how people buy the products. Like you say, if it's a market that's heavy on the digital like buying journey, let's say, I guess you're going to optimize that journey as much as you can for that market. It could be methods of payment, it could be awareness and being able to process payment through different channels, and I guess that looks very different globally. Like if you compare like how China buys your products, for example, versus how the US or how France, is that accurate? Is it different?
Yeah, it's accurate. We, for example, in China, we sell through what we call WeChat.
Yeah.
So it's really something that is specific, and you need to understand how it works. What is the best strategy to go through this type of channel, and then to be able to adapt your content and the strategy you add in central to be able to be more effective. But that is really through a lot of discussion with the local teams, because they are actually the expert of this type of channel.
Yeah, and unless you're active in that method of payment or on WeChat,
but
you're not.
You cannot be expert of everything.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah. Cool. Okay. And I guess maybe a follow-up question then is, again, you're operating over many markets. How do you measure and track success? In terms of KPIs and what you see as success across all those markets. Are they the same, or do those measurements of success maybe look different globally?
No, really. My answer will be very simple, but it's actually quite the same. For a simple reason is that it's better to be able to compare the things when you have the same metrics. So it's really something that we are just following like straight. I could maybe distinguish two different type of KPIs that are really important, because most of the time I think brands are focusing on the first one. So the first one will be like operational excellence. So you have all like delivery time, stock availability, things like that. So it's pretty straightforward, like revenue, as we said, like turnover. But that's for me just one part of the success, and the other one will be better focused on customer experience, because we don't want just to a customer to come at your brand to buy once and to never come back. So if you want customer to stay loyal and to create a real relationship with them, you really have to also focusing on the experience they have. So in terms of NPS, we talked about engagement, advocacy as well. So it's really things that are the big brands are looking at very carefully now as well.
Yeah, and with such a prestigious brand, you've got a lot of history and a lot of brand presence globally, and maintaining and moving that brand forward in every interaction, every transaction is what I guess you sort of aim to achieve. And you do that by delivering great customer experience when they buy the product from you guys. So yeah, a lot of pressure on each transaction, I guess. But
actually, yeah, and also it's a point that which is related to, we talked about local and all the different countries, and when you have something so worldwide, it's really very difficult to manage all the local specificity in terms of calendar, because you have so many commercial times and events to just go through. Then as a website, for example, it's just not like Christmas time, you need to be perfect on delivery time for Christmas. When you have Chinese New Year, when you have Ramadan, for example, you need to be perfect all the time, because you have during the whole year, like events like that now. So it's really something that need to be strong, like as a platform. One change we saw also is that maybe in the past people were a little bit loyal, more loyal to the brands they bought, but now with younger generation and the impact of social media and maybe the scandals and all the bad buzz that you may have online, really people are shifting more quickly than before from one brand to another if something is not like as they like. So you need to be like focusing on that sort of experience and services all the time.
That's definitely, we've talked to people from other brands in like luxury areas as well, like automotive, luxury watches, and I think they said something similar, that loyalty, it's not maybe that necessarily the loyalty is not the same, it's just like you say, it's easier to transition from spending your money here to spending your money there. It's easier in every dynamic, whether it's your banking or it's your it's your car or it's a luxury item. It's easier, isn't it, today than it ever was to switch. So yeah, that's a challenge, I guess, that every brand faces, which is
well, luxury or non-luxury products and businesses, I mean, with the digital transformations and the development of AI and technology advancing so much, people expect things to be perfect all the time.
Exactly.
So they're less patient to wait for mistakes, and they're less patient to be forgiving if you've got next day delivery and it doesn't come till the day after. They're so impatient, they'll just switch straight away.
Yeah, and especially because now you have like a super brand like Apple, and you don't like have anything here to explain how to use the iPhone, and you can just pay in three click and it's okay, it's at your home. So this type of level of service is really impacting the rest of the items process. And really, I think for years luxury just thought that having a website and doing digital transformation was something to consider, but it was really late comparing to other sectors. And now they are investing a lot, but still we see through the studies that it's not matching the standards that we want to reach still. So
I mean, that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is kind of more focused, I suppose, our next topic actually as a whole, which is digital transformation. So how do you ensure that digital transformation doesn't dilute the heritage or the exclusivity of luxury brands?
So we have many ways to do that. I'm not sure I'm gonna have all the answers, because I think it's still something that luxury needs to think about really. It's what I call the added value of digital. And I truly believe it's not just like reproducing what we have in retail that will lead to a better digital experience. But if I just step back to heritage, for example, and the brand identity, once again, you need to have a very strong identity and roots to be very comfortable with that vision, to be able to traduce that and translate that to your website and all the digital platform that you may have. And I think it's very important to not just do like nice pictures and also good like brand content, but also to have a strong visual like identity, for example, for your website, because I saw too much website from luxury brand that are just looking exactly the same. You just change the logo and change like the type of clothing of bags that are like showed into the website, and basically you won't be able to tell if it's something or something else. It's really like, I mean, so I understand the very clean aesthetics that we put on digital these days, but really I think one thing that is important to be true to your roots and your story is really to think that about how to translate your values and what you want to say to your customers through all the details that you may have on your digital platforms.
100%. I mean, everyone seems to have this sort of, like you said, the clean, minimalistic website. But it's exactly as you said. I mean, trying to stick to that trend, you might lose your own identity and actually become less distinguishable. And I suppose you lose that kind of, I suppose a lot of luxury brands kind of have Italian roots, don't they? But with sticking with like minimalistic website features, maybe you losing the Italian culture or the things like that.
Yeah, and I think, well, what you're looking for when you're going to the retail, and so to be immersed into like an ambience, like something like you can feel something, beautiful. So if you go to a website that have no soul, basically, you cannot expect to have a great experience, in my opinion.
100%.
And if I'm just going back to exclusivity, we have many ways to do that for luxury. To give you some example, we can use the digital platforms as a way to launch special items drops, for example.
Okay.
So items that are just sold just through digital channels, like an exclusive product, like a limited edition, for example. And also we have certain type of products that are not actually sell on digital or just even show. So to give you an example, Chanel just remove all the bags, so you cannot just check on the website all the colors variation, all the different type of bags that you may have in store. I think it's for them a strategy to preserve that kind of exclusivity and tell to the customer that you have to come to the boutique to be able to see exactly what you're gonna have. At Louis Vuitton and for other brands like Cartier, for example, you may have more of the catalog product on the website, but some of the items, especially for very high price items, you're not going to be able to buy them on the website. Because I don't know, for a 10,000 like necklace, for example, it's such a small amount of people that are buying that. So we just decided that maybe it just don't fit like a digital experience as we imagine it for the moment.
Yeah.
And there's also another type of items that are not in the website and on digital platforms. It's all the very, very high-end products, so high jewelry, high watchmaking. And for these products, to keep the level of exclusivity like really exclusive, it's just something that we show only by small touches on social media, but in a very aspirational like way, and not something that you can just see like on the catalog, for example. So it's something more to dream about, because for most of the people you will never be able to buy like a very high jewelry necklace. So that's another strategy for brands to be able to, depending of the category of item that you're selling, to preserve exclusivity.
That's such a smart way to go about. I hadn't thought about maybe not promoting so many things on the website before, and that makes so much sense.
It really does, doesn't it? Because like you say, even for luxury brands, you have different levels of luxury.
Exactly.
There are items that are luxury but attainable to, let's say, a percentage of the population. Then there are super luxury items, and it exists in all premium brands across the world. If it's cars and things like that. I once spoke to someone at McLaren, and they worked in a tiny department that only builds custom McLaren cars, like one of ones only for individuals. So, and that applies, I think, to all brands, and brands like Louis Vuitton and other brands under the umbrella. that will exist for sure, and it makes sense because you can't just put this is some, let's call it, hyper luxury item on the website with some price that not many people can really either relate to or even understand. But there is a market for that, and I think visually showing it, like you saying, putting it out into the world it's like you say, it's a brand inspirational piece, isn't it? It's people aspire to the brand and they see what the art of the possible is, even if they don't see it on the website, and a price. So it's a fascinating era, I think, of premium luxury retail.
Yeah, for most of people it will be maybe more like something that is contributing to the culture of the brand, like you imagine it, and not something that you may buy sometimes. So really, but it's still part of the brand and the magic of it. So
I have a quick follow-up question that's quite maybe a small question, which is, do you have any examples? You referenced some tools, like digital tools that you use to shape customer experience or maybe impact the business from a performance perspective. Do you have any examples of a business tool or a digital tool, let's say, that come to mind?
CRM, so customer relationship management tools are crucial. So, and especially if you're worldwide and you need to have something real time now. So you cannot just have something that is not connected everywhere. Basically, especially for luxury customers that are, coming in Paris, may come from US and have a purchase history in the US, and they want to be treated like customers that are known by the brand. So you really need to have this knowledge when you are just like up to the customer in Paris, to be able to provide the best item possible, and to be really relevant when you're just like having this type of relationship with them. So it's really something that is not as magical like Gen AI, for example, but really having a good CRM is such a good base for a lot of brands. And it's also something very frustrating for customers, because I saw that many times. And when brands are, like putting you some newsletters with items that you're not interested in at all, and it's just like more email in your mailbox. It's really frustrating for customers. You don't want that. And now as a customer that somewhere you have the tools to be able to be better in that type of personalization. So for me, I just want things that are tailored to what I like, what I want to buy, what I'm interested in, and not something like completely irrelevant.
Like you say, it's a simple journey, but actually really important, because the end product of all of this work and effort and everything we've discussed today about creating an amazing brand experience, at the end of it is, does the customer leave with the product when they want to leave with the product?
Exactly.
And if you overlook that, that's missing, that's the candle on top of the cake, isn't it, at the end of it? So
yeah, and you take
it's
the
good to hear
risk
that.
that maybe you will find a ring in another store,
Yeah,
in
I
another
need
brand.
one today, so they walk down
Exactly.
yeah,
So yeah,
that's interesting.
So this is a really difficult question for you, I can imagine, with your background in mentoring and your public speaking. But what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned from maybe leading global cross-functional projects?
Well, I would say that alignment is one of the key, and really knowing what you're doing the things is, I think, the best lesson I have, because when you're knowing why you're doing things, for what reason, in what purpose, it's better to be able to engage the teams that you're working with. It's also better to be able to translate in terms of tool, structure, collaboration, and projects, if the goal is really, clear for everyone. So, and I saw great project that just led to a disaster, and just things went bad because nobody was like agree on the direction and what we are, the reason we are doing the thing. So I think it's something really crucial to have this thing in mind, to be able to go through all the projects. And also for luxury, as we spoke before, we need to keep that right balance between where you come from, the roots, the identity, and also the future, to be able to speak to younger generation and to just integrate innovation into all the ecosystem.
Great. I'm going to be making notes on that later on.
Such good advice. That advice so good to everyone in your career. Well,
100%.
like to someone starting out in their career like yourself, or not. I think that's such good advice. Like just being aligned to who you are, the vision of maybe the brand you're working with, the brand you're working for. That's such good advice.
That strikes me as one of the sort of things that could easily get lost as well. You get so carried away with maybe other things and trying to keep up with everyone, that you can so easily, like we said about the website, you can so easily lose your actual end vision or your beginning vision.
And I think it's also something maybe personal, because as a person, it's also important to have like a good comprehension of what you've been before and what you came from and what is your goal in the future, and just to be able to connect everything together just to make sense. I think it's like a personal journey, maybe.
100%.
Maybe I'll do a quick thank you to you for not only travelling all that way from Paris to see us.
Love to be in London,
which is lovely to
especially
hear that.
with sunny weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have got sun, so that's good. But yeah, thank you for sharing all that you've shared today, and and for your time. And I think the audience obviously love the episode, but also really appreciate you sort of sharing your experiences and working in what is one of the world's most, prestigious brands. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you to you.
Cool.
Quick fire questions then. If you were to only own one luxury product, you can only have one, what do you need the most forever?
Forever, answer really simple, a bag.
A bag?
Yeah, because it's so timeless and it's so important to have a bag to carry your life with you. So yeah, a good bag is.
What's your favourite thing about living in Paris?
That's a good one.
Well, I'm an art passionate and history lover, so being in Paris is really like a wonderful time every time. Like you just cannot see all Paris had to offer, because there is so many like art galleries, museum, like opera, ballet, and everything. So it's really, for me, it's like a dream city, really.
What is maybe one project or one maybe line that's coming out this year with Louis Vuitton that you're most excited about, that you can talk about? Anything that you can talk about? What are you most looking forward to coming from the brand this year?
Well, so the big news for Louis Vuitton this year is that we just released a whole beauty product launches. So it's really something that the brand haven't done before. So it's going to be something really new. And as you know, the luxury sector at the moment is not very dynamic. So it's really, I think, a big gamble to see if it's going to work or not, especially because the prices are really high. But Louis Vuitton do things all the time with a huge level of, excellence and commitment. So I'm very curious about how it's going to go in the future.
I'm very excited for that. And Pat McGrath has been named as the creative director.
Exactly.
So that's going to be really interesting. I think that's setting up already an exclusive vibe of the entire line.
Yeah.
You've not got that with any other kind of brand.
Yeah. And at the same time, I remember when I was in agency a few years before, we work a lot on a mobile app project for virtual try-on with makeup. And it was really a good use case because it was something quite simple to apply to the face and to see a result that is quite good to buy a product. It's way harder to do that with a bag, for example, because you have to, or a watch, because you have the size of the product comparing to the size of the person. It's exactly the same. You have all the material like metal reflection and leather texture, for example, which is really difficult when you're thinking about digital. And but makeup is a good field of experiment for this type of digital experiences. So maybe in the future, I don't know.
As a person that lives in Paris, what's your favourite snack? So it can't be a meal.
Yeah.
Favourite snack?
Oh, the honest answer is not really matching the luxury image. So maybe I'm going to skip it.
Okay.
So because it's popcorn, so it's my guilty pleasure.
You can't go, what flavour is the important question?
Yeah. And I discovered that, well, in France we just have salt and a sugary one, but when you're going through different other countries like the US, for example, you have buttery ones,
you can get anything in America,
onion ones, so it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Popcorn's a good one.
Yeah, popcorn. Yeah.
Cool.